We are finally able, after however many months it has been, 8 months, we're finally able to talk some college football games. And this week 0 in particular is actually the biggest slate of games that we've had in week 0 since I don't know when. There's a lot of games going on this week.
Yeah, about I think I counted like 8 games for week 0.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot more than 8 games. A lot of them are just, a lot of them are FCS games, though.
We're talking all okay.
I'm not talking the FCS games. I don't really think anybody. There are going to be some people who care about that. Yeah, I ain't one of them. Unless it's the FCS championship, I'm probably not going to cover it. But yeah, no, we still got some massive entertainment to go over for this week. So I guess we'll get right into it, shall we? Here it is, our very first game of the upcoming college football season. 2 Power 4 programs trying to find their balance in the world of college football. North Carolina and TCU. So TCU is coming into this game as a 7.5-point favorite, and for good reason. The Horned Frogs have had well more success over these past few years than North Carolina has. They had, I think, a 9-win season last year, won their bowl game, and Sonny Dykes is continuing to run that machine. Now, they did lose, of course, Josh Hoover to Indiana, but at the bare minimum, they still got a good system running there, and that's not what you could say about the Tar Pits, man. What an absolute mess they have been. And a clown show starting going back last year. They fire their head coach, longtime head coach Mac Brown, bring in Bill Belichick from the NFL, and, well, turns out he don't know a damn thing about college football like we all knew was the case. Basically, the most important thing to come out of North Carolina over the course of this last year is Bill Belichick and the details on his relationship with his forever 20 girlfriend. It has been an absolute mess with North Carolina, and a lot of that has been part of the reason. Well, now they come into 2026, and a lot of things have changed about them. Of course, starting with their starting quarterback, Gio Lopez, no longer there. He's over at some other school. Now they're bringing in everybody's favorite, Billy Edwards. Now, we don't know if he's going to be the starter yet. They brought a handful of brand new quarterbacks coming into their system, a brand new system under former Razorback offensive coordinator and interim coach, Mr. Bobby Petrino. Yes, they are just summoning all of the clowns in this one particular location in Chapel Hill. Let me tell you what. So Bobby Petrino trying to run the system at North Carolina, heavily different than what it was before because their offense was a flat, big, fat freaking mess last season. Their defense was way better. It was like a flip-flop of what it was in 2024 because their defense was terrible in 24. Then it was really good in 25. And then, their offense was pretty good back in 24. Then it was an absolute dumpster fire in 25. Which one's it going to be in 26? Might be both. That's their problem. Their offense doesn't look too good in their defense. While it does maintain the same coordinator and same staff, a lot of their big-time playmakers have gone to other schools and got poached by, well, more elite programs. So now here we go. Facing off in Dublin, Ireland for this matchup here. And as you know, when it comes to this matchup in Dublin, whichever the loser of this game is winds up just completely falling apart down the stretch. We've seen it with several of the other programs. Happened with Florida State, happened with Kansas State, could happen with North Carolina. TCU is coming into this game, as I previously said, more than a touchdown favorite, rightfully so. Red, what do you think? Do you think TCU is going to run away with this one?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't give a shit what the matchup predictor says here. Let's look at the facts, okay? UNC had to completely rebuild after they've had to try to completely move on from Mac Brown. This is a program that is mired in bullshit from the head coach to the general manager. Not to mention, the players that they got are not the greatest. So, TCU's got their own problems they got to sort out, obviously, but they're a far better put together team than anything North Carolina's going to throw up there, especially on the road, going to Ireland of all places. You got the jet lag coming through. It's kind of tends to equal things out, and we both know that Ireland can kind of be weird with their football games sometimes, but God, I got no confidence in North Carolina at all this season, let alone in the opener against TCU. So, yeah, give me the Horned Frogs. It's not going to be it's going to be an ugly fucking duck of a game.
I'll give you guys a fun little stat here about North Carolina last season going into this one. North Carolina, when they played TCU to open up last year, they scored the very first touchdown. And everybody was, oh, North Carolina knows what they're doing, apparently, because they had a beautiful first scoring drive and didn't do shit through the remainder of that game. In fact,
that was their Aaron Rodgers moment.
After that game, after that first score, they only scored 24 touchdowns through the entire season. So that should tell you everything you need to know. Now, yeah, as I said, Bobby P coming in with a brand new system, but they got a brand new quarterback, brand new set of receivers, brand new offensive line, brand new thing through the entirety of the team. There's some issues with North Carolina and the Tar Pits, and I think a lot of that starts with Bill Belichick. I don't think he's got it. Meanwhile, Sonny Dykes has well established some sort of continuancy with the Horned Frogs. I think they're going to do the same thing they did last year. I think they're going to roll through, beat down North Carolina. It's gonna be closer, I think, than last year's game was. I don't think it's going to be an instant blowout. However, I do think TCU is going to run away with this one. I think they easily cover that 7.5 spread, and I don't think it's going to be a particularly close game. So that's what I got to say about that. I think you're going live for that game too, Red, right?
Yep, I'm going live for that game.
We'll both be live
well.
then. That's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun one to say for sure. All right, on to our next game here. And I didn't know any Big Ten teams are actually playing in week 0, but looks like one of them is. And who else but Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans? A lot of people hype on the Trojans and the condoms, as I call them. A lot of people are hype on them this year. I'm one of those people. I think USC's got a path to the playoffs. They've got a slightly formidable schedule, but they've got a good team coming back, got a lot of elite talent returning for them. And if things do line up their way, I could definitely see a path to the playoffs for them. Because, well, a lot of things. One, Lincoln Riley made one of probably the most important coaching hires he's ever made by hiring former TCU man Gary Patterson. If anybody's going to turn this defense into something at least respectable for once, it's going to be Gary Patterson. And if it doesn't happen here, it ain't going to happen with any coach. And at that point, I'll agree with Red and say that Lincoln Riley is an absolute hack. But
yeah,
we're going to find out pretty fast whether or not USC's got a respectable defense. They're going up against San Jose State to open up at 3 o'clock at home in week 0. They are a 38.5 point favorite. Now, San Jose State has got obviously some serious problems, and the main one being they lost Walker Eget through the transfer portal, and that's a big time loss for them. He was their big time playmaker last season. Now he's on to a different school, so they've got some rebuilding to do. And whatever changes that they've done over the course of this last offseason, it's not going to be enough when going up against Southern Cal. But Red, 38.5. Do you think that spread is rational?
I mean, it is a little Sparty after all. We got to kind of take what they are at face value here. I don't think they're a god-awful team. I don't think that, USC is going to cover that. I think it's going to be more like 24-point victory instead of a 30 whatever the fuck it is point victory. And I'm not saying that because I think San Jose State has a shot in hell of slowing USC down. I'm saying that because USC is probably going to come out a little bit flat. I don't really think that just because of the fact that they're playing an inferior team from down the road, that's enough to justify them absolutely smoking their ass like a fucking stogie. So you know how I am with Lincoln Riley. I do not believe he is a serious coach in this league, in this, division. I just, it is what it is. But no, I don't think they cover. I think they win by 21 at the lowest.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Funny thing is, I think it was 3 years ago, both of these teams faced off in week 0, just like they are doing this year. And San Jose State actually punched USC in the mouth to open up the game. And USC struggled for most of the first half. Eventually, they got it together, won in dominating fashion going into the second half. I'm expecting sort of the same result here. I think USC will sort of be feeling things out through the first half. Maybe go into half with like a 20-something point lead. And then I think they'll, maintain dominance, run through San Jose State's defense. And I think they'll win by like 37. They may, I don't know. I get the spread. It's hard for me to say that they won't cover, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm going to say for now that they don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'll be. I don't think it'll be a close game at all.
Right. Yeah.
This one, on the other hand, is a whole different story. This one is going to be some massive entertainment. NC State and Virginia matching up. Now, this was originally going to be a game in Brazil, but both teams mutually agreed to change the stadium to Charlottesville. So it's a road game for NC State to open up the season, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Virginia's coming in not necessarily a heavy favorite, but they are a 5.5 point favorite going into this game. So, here's what I think about Virginia. They're losing some marquee talent. Of course, Chandler Morris being gone is a huge loss for any team, especially the Cavaliers. And they had a really, really good season last year. Won 11 games. And it was a great year for them. But now going into this year, they've got an interesting quarterback situation on their hands. I haven't heard any announcements of who their starter is going to be, but right now there is a big time battle going on between two backups, or two former starters from Missouri's Bo Pribula and Pitt's Eli Holstein. So both of those guys, it's going to be an interesting battle for them. They buffed up their running back room. Peyton Lewis from Tennessee coming in, and I'll tell you right now, he is a pretty damn good back. Virginia's got some big-time playmakers on offense, and Tony Elliott proved last season that he has the potential to turn this offense into something very, very respectable. NC State, on the other hand, NC State actually had a pretty decent year last season, won quite a few games, but they've definitely got some questions that need answering. Their running game is very, very questionable at best. They've got some new receivers. JoJo Trader coming in. I think he is a big pickup for them. CJ Bailey, I think, is one of the better dual threats in the conference, but their offensive line has some serious issues. I think their defense has some things that needs answering. But the one thing you can always count on with Dave Doran is that he is going to fight. And again, CJ Bailey is one of the better quarterbacks in the country, or at least in the conference right now. I just don't know if he has enough help around him. So I don't know. This game might be a rug pull for him, like CJ Bailey tried to do over the offseason with that crypto scam. So, Red, what do you think?
NC State's always just a weird fucking team. With Dave Doran, you're either all the way on or you're all the way off. It's no middle ground. They're never just they're either good or they're bad. Considering it's at home for Virginia, I'm definitely taking UVA on this one. Bo Pribula joining the Cavaliers are just absolutely, that's the main thing that comes to mind first. Like you've upgraded at quarterback. NC State, they didn't really get any better over the offseason. I dare say they probably regressed a few steps. So I would probably just bet on Virginia winning by about 2 scores.
I don't know. I think I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I don't think NC State's going to win, but I do think that they're going to make this a 1-score game.
Okay.
It's going to be a very competitive battle, I think, because here's the thing. I don't think people are giving CJ Bailey enough credit. And I know I just made fun of him for the crypto scam that he pulled, but he is, I think, one of the better quarterbacks in the country. And if the defense winds up being as good as some people expect, NC State has got a path to a good run with a favorable schedule, because that's one thing that they've got. They've got the advantage of a very favorable schedule. But this is going to be a hard game for them to open up the season. A true road test on the road against a Virginia team with 2 pretty good quarterbacks that could potentially be throwing. I don't know. To me, I think Virginia wins this game. I do think it's going to be a tough battle for him, but I think the Cavaliers with that home field advantage are going to hold on and get the W there. That is going to be a fun game to watch. And now I will exacerbate this because I do think that game is very important for the future of Dave Doran and NC State, because as tired as everyone else is of watching this team crawl their way to 7 or 8 wins a season, think about how tired the NC State fans are seeing that. So, all right, now this is funny to me because the ticket prices on that Virginia NC State game were $23. The game I'm putting up here on the screen right now is twice that at $52, and it's between 2 G5 teams, one of which is a brand new G5 team. The Jacksonville State Gamecocks, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, going into the Fargo Dome to take on brand new FBS team North Dakota State. Man, oh man, oh man. There's a lot of people high on North Dakota State, including myself. They have got a well-stacked team, patched some holes through the transfer portal. Nathan Hayes is a battle-tested quarterback coming into his senior year, and he's got potential with him, around him, surrounding him, and a pretty good defense to go along with it. So I would expect for North Dakota State to make some significant noise this season in their first year in the FBS. And if things line up their way completely, they've got a potential path to the playoffs lining up in their direction. Now, Jacksonville State. These last 2 years have been very, very fun for the Gamecocks. I expect for them to continue some of that going into this year. Now, I've yet to see what Caden Creel can bring to the table. That's the one thing we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Plus, they are losing a lot of their big-time playmakers to bigger-name schools, including Rich Rod and West Virginia. Yep, that's going to continue. You're basically serving now as a pipeline for West Virginia, so have fun with that. But with the talent that's there, they did pick up some key pieces, but they're going to be in a tough battle here, going on the road to face off against the Bison in the Dome, no less. So Jacksonville State is a touchdown dog in this matchup. Oh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one for me to call. Red, what do you think?
Jacksonville State's going to get absolutely gored by the Bison. They're going into a really tough environment. And Jacksonville State's a good team. They're going to be a good team this season. They're going to be contending for Conference USA. That's not there's no doubt in my mind about that. They're going to continue to do that. I don't necessarily think they're going to win the conference. I think that the wall is approaching them. But you're walking into the Fargo Dome in their FBS opener against North Dakota State, who made the playoffs last year. Granted, they didn't make it far this time around, but still, they made the playoffs in FCS. They got a pretty good team coming in. Time will tell how well it'll translate to the next level, but still, it is going to be an extremely hostile environment. They're gonna lose. I think this is going to be the coming out party for North Dakota State, genuinely.
I'm with you on that one. I don't think North Dakota State's going to put up a bigger fight in any other game than it is for this one, because this is their statement game. This is your chance to be like, yeah, we belong here. We can do something. We can actually do something in the FBS, not report. So to me, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think North Dakota State, I don't think they run through the Gamecocks, but I do think they win, and I think they do so with style.
We'll try to lay him down real quick. Give me 1 second.
Okay. In the meantime, let's talk about this next game here. We just talked about North Dakota State and their introduction into the FBS. Well, let's talk about the other team that's being introduced to the FBS starting this year. Sacramento State. The Hornets at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time take on the Eastern Michigan Eagles, the Big E's, hosting Sacramento State. Now, this is going to be another fun game to watch, I think, because I think both teams have a lot of questions that need to be answered. And these are two, as compared to Jacksonville State and North Dakota State, these two teams in particular have what I would consider a lot more, like I said, a lot more questions because – well, they're not as good as either one of those teams I just mentioned. Sacramento State is coming in with a brand new set of transfers, starting with Carson Conklin, transfer from Fresno State, one of their backups coming in to be their starter. If not him, then it'll be Jackson Sharman from Idaho State. So they've got 2 transfer quarterbacks coming in. Whichever one's going to get the starting job, completely unknown at this point in time, but I'm sure we're going to find out here very, very shortly. Brought a brand new set of offensive linemen, brand new wide receivers, a lot of new guys on the defense. Their secondary is packed to the brim with brand new guys. Amari Wallace back there in the backfield for one freshman transfer out of Miami. So Sacramento State did pick up some significant pieces. As for Eastern Michigan, now the good thing for Eastern Michigan going into this game is that they're the ones hosting. They don't have the same problem that Jacksonville State has, which is they got to travel to what's going to be a hostile environment. They are the so-called hostile environment in question. So the Big E going into their roster and what they're bringing back. Well, for starters, Noah Kim returning for another year. This will be his final year with Eastern Michigan. So a lot of noise around him. And with him is, well, that's it, really. they did, of course. The thing is about them as compared to Sacramento State is that they aren't starting a whole new set of transfers. They did buff up their line through the portal, and that's about all they did. The rest of their team has been there with them from the start. So it's going to be an interesting matchup here, especially since the predictor of Sacramento State with the 55% here. However, Eastern Michigan is a 9.5-point favorite in this matchup. Very, very hard to predict this one, Red. What do you got?
Well, this is kind of another scenario. Okay, so Sacramento State, they're coming into Eastern Michigan's home stadium to take on Maccoon Incorporated. Here's the deal with this is not the same thing as North Dakota State coming in. Sac State was not the greatest last year. They didn't make the playoffs. They went 7-4 after a couple of years of actually being decent. They didn't have a very strong finish. What I genuinely feel like here is they're probably going to come in and they're still going to win because it's Eastern Michigan after all, and they got some work to do themselves. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout per se. I think it's going to be a 3-point affair. It's going to be some action bullshit. Sac State's probably going to come in and realize you can't tangle with the Maccoon and walk out of there alive so easily. But I still think they're going to get the W.
My bad. I think.
Say, is my earbud dead?
No. My brain is. So here's the thing when it comes to both of these teams is that, again, very, very hard to predict. There's a lot of unknowns of both of these rosters, a lot of things that we have to look at. But what better way to look at it than actually watching the first game? And I'll use the same logic with North Dakota State with Sacramento State that I did for North Dakota State, which is that they're not going to be fighting any harder throughout the season than they are going to be in this game because this is their first game in a brand new division of football. They're going to want to prove to everybody that they're the real deal or at least respectable enough for people to give them some attention. So I think it's going to be a very hard-fought battle, but I've got Sacramento State coming in and grabbing the upset over the emu, the Big E. I think Sacramento State's going to go in there, and I think they're going to take care of business and get that W. But it is going to be a hard one. It's going to be a hard fight, I think. All right, here we go. Oh boy. So so first of all, this upcoming game right here, this game was absolute cinema last season. If you guys weren't watching this game, I feel bad for you because it was a hell of a watch to witness. Hawaii, of course, won this game last year on a game-winning field goal from a kicker who learned it from YouTube, giving Stanford, I guess the second place award for Clown of the Week in week 0. Well, we get this action again. This time, though, the Cardinal is actually hosting Hawaii. And as we expected, Stanford is coming into the season with a brand new coach, I thought it was going to be Andrew Luck, and I've been saying it was going to be Andrew Luck up until the coaching hire was actually made. But they decided that they were going to hire up-and-coming coordinator, originally a coordinator for Stanford. Then he was with the CEO of the number 5, Jaden Daniels, over there with Washington. Now he's Stanford's head coach, Tavada Pritchard. So he is going to be their brand new head coach, at least for the foreseeable future. Along with him, he brought some key pieces with him. For one, Red's going to remember this name for sure. Former Michigan Wolverine Davis Warren is set to be the starting quarterback for the Cardinal going into this season.
He's still playing? What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. Crazy. Yeah, this is his final year, though, pending a bad injury happens to him. Along with them, they also picked up a few receivers out of the transfer portal. Nico Brown from Yale, Carter Shaw from UCLA. The defense, they did nothing with the defense. Everybody on the defense was there with Stanford last season. They're coming back for another year. Now, they did lose a few guys through the portal, as you guys know, but they didn't pick up anybody. Their team is basically the exact same on defense. So that's going to be an interesting thing to witness. Now, Hawaii, going into another year with Timmy Chang, had a phenomenal year for the Rainbow Warriors last season. If they're going to continue that, then Timmy Chang could be becoming a Power 4 coach in due time. But yeah, no. Micah Alejado coming back for another year. He had a fantastic freshman year as a redshirt freshman. Now he's coming into year number 3, I guess you could say. And he's got a whole bunch of brand new weapons with him. Carson Brown, Trey Griffiths, Audric Harris, Devin Alves. They picked up a brand new set of wide receivers from the portal. You know, they beefed up their line quite a bit. They went to work. They went to work over this offseason. And I think a lot of the questions with Hawaii are going to come down to how well they can run the ball with Cam Barfield. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's going to make this game really, really interesting because that spread could be a steal. Stanford coming into this game as a 4-point favorite, which is, again, very, very low, all things considered. But it's not the most stunning spread, I would have to say. I don't know. This is a tough one for me to call because Hawaii beat them last season off a game-winning field goal. I think Hawaii has gotten slightly better in places. Stanford, I think, with a brand new coaching system, could be worse in some places. Red, you tell me, man. What you got for this one?
Stanford's a fucking sinking ship. They haven't really been able to get their shit together for a long time. And I don't see that starting now. Hawaii, on the other end of the spectrum, they legitimately could make a run for the conference title this year. They got a lot of great things going from them. The name of the quarterback escapes me, but he's really goddamn good. They were kind of annoying last year. They weren't quite good enough to compete, but they were very annoying, and they did win their bowl game over Cal too. So I would just say let's go ahead and just pencil Hawaii in as at least a 7-point win. And dare I say, I think they're probably going to win. I didn't pick them to win the Mountain West, but they got a better than good shot, I'd say. Plus, Stanford's just a fucking train wreck.
That is true. That's one thing I can say, though. The trees are falling. I guess that's one thing you could say. It's a tough one for me to call. I don't know. I think Hawaii is the more well-rounded team. I'm gonna agree with you again. I've got Hawaii winning this game. I do think it's gonna be a close battle again, but I think the Rainbow Warriors are gonna go in there, grab the upset over the trees, and the Timmy Chang domination arc, I guess, shall continue. That's all I can really say about that. All right, before we continue on with the rest of the games, we've got to, of course, do as we usually do and give a special shout out to our moneymakers down there, Prize Picks. Thank you very much to Prize Picks for sponsoring Squidtard Sports, Red5478, and this show that you're watching right now, the FBS Report. Great people over there at Prize Picks. I think you guys know the drill by now. For all new users, you can play $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. And speaking of lineups, we're going to do one for you guys right now, actually. Yep, time for another one of our lineups. So here we go. This is for we're doing NFL this week, as you would expect, going into some of the preseason matchups. Red, gonna need your help for this one. So I'm trying to figure out which ones I should do. I'm thinking we're gonna go extra daring for this game right here. I'm gonna pick CD Lamb to have a touchdown. You think that's reasonable?
I think that's a pretty reasonable bet.
All right.
I think that's a good pick. I would also go ahead and, you want to talk about Caleb Williams going up against Carolina? I definitely pick more on that one too.
And then I'm going to go less on Cam Ward having 204 passing yards. What do you think about that?
No, I think that's a fair guess. I know it's the Jets, and that's going to be a bit of a, it could be a cakewalk depending on the defense. It is the Jets, but I could seriously see Cam Woods having a rough day behind center.
Potentially so. All right. Well, if we don't have anything else, should we go 4? Just stick with 3. I'm just going to stick with 3. All right. Well, we're going to submit this lineup and cross fingers, hope for the best. Well, I guess we're due to find out Sunday whether or not this pans out. That's all I really got to say about that. Thank you to our sponsor, Prize Picks, of course, for sponsoring this channel. Make sure, if you haven't already, sign yourself up, play $5, get $150 instantly if you win your first lineup. Definitely check them out if you haven't already. All right, continuing onward. We got a few more games to go over because, like I said earlier, this is a jam-packed week 0. Red, oh, man, you're going to like this one. You're really going to like this one because, well, good news for you. It never stops burning. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's burning again to open up week 0 on everyone's favorite CW shit show network. The New Mexico State Aggies are heading into the Doak to face off against Florida State. So a lot of questions, of course, with Florida State going into this year. A lot of big questions that need to be answered about this team, about this roster. And I guess the main one is, will Mike Norvell manage to survive another year? Mike Norvell has only had one really successful season at Florida State. And, of course, it was the year where Jordan Travis popped off. They almost made the playoffs, at least won the ACC, went 13-0. Every other year that he's been there has been an abject failure of a season for Florida State. And that includes last season. Florida State was an absolute mess, lost to the worst Florida team that we've seen since the one-win team from 1979. They have been absolutely terrible these past few years. And the only reason Mike Norvell is still there at this point is because they just can't afford to fire him yet. So yeah, that's the only reason he's stuck there at this point in time. He's got to prove that he can get this team back to something, back to 7 wins. I don't know. They need to go somewhere above 5 wins. Otherwise, he's absolutely gone. Well, they're bringing in a brand new roster with a bunch of brand new players. First of all, Contravion Wisner, former running back from Texas. He was fighting through the injury bug last season. Now he's with Florida State as their starting running back. As for their starting quarterback, this is going to give a few of you nightmares, but Ashton Daniels, he's back again as the starting quarterback for Florida State. He had a few stints with both Auburn and Stanford, and he had a few moments where he looked good, but basically, to me, he's basically Tommy Castellanos if he had bricks for feet. If we're just going to describe him that way. So there's upsides to him, I think, but the big downside is he's nowhere near the dual threat that Castellanos had. And the worst part about it is they no longer have Gus Malzahn calling plays for them. Now they've got a brand new offensive coordinator. They've got a bunch of brand new things coming in. They rebalanced their line. They don't have any brand new receivers. In fact, they're probably going to be forced to start one of their true freshman recruits. So they have a very, very weak wide receiver room. The Florida State offense could be an absolute mess this year. Their defense, on the other hand, is bringing back quite a few key pieces, but they are also picking up a bunch of brand new transfers. So a lot of questions with Florida State, but when it comes to this game against New Mexico State, even with as bad as a lot of people think Florida State's going to be, New Mexico State's a whole lot worse. The only thing saving New Mexico State from being UMass is that they're not UMass. That's the only thing saving them at this point, because for them, it is a complete and flat out mess. And in terms of what they're bringing in, the only thing I can really say is that they are bringing in Furman quarterback Trey Hayden. But for the most part, I mean, that's really it. They do have a bunch of brand new transfers, but it would be names that you guys would forget 5 minutes after I say them. So there's no point trying to bring that up any further. Florida State's coming into this game as a 31.5-point favorite. Red, tell me, Mr. Doak Master himself, do you think Florida State's going to cover that?
Don't call me fucking Doak Master. What the fuck is that nickname? Good lord. Yeah, New Mexico State is just a pathetic fucking team. Like I like to shit on Florida State as much as the next guy, but they had one good piece of offense, Seth McGowan in 2024. He transfers to Kentucky. All of a sudden, they can't throw the ball. They can't run the ball. They can't defend shit. They couldn't do shit. I do not see. No, absolutely fucking not.
I agree. I agree.
There.
I agree with that statement.
I am not. Oh, brother.
Tell the truth. Yep.
No.
All right, carry on.
New Mexico State's going to get slaughtered. As much as I want to say they're going to come in and beat Florida State, I'm not an idiot. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not that big of a hater. I think they'll cover the spread.
By the way, can we talk about how much of a troll job it is that Florida State opens up the season on the CW? That is hilarious. That is primetime comedy right there. Sorry to like 75% of our fan base that watches this. You're not even going to be able to watch the daggum game.
No, for real. It's the CW. Only clowns watch.
Clown. Yeah, clown watch. That's a great way of putting it. Oh, man. I do expect Florida State to run away with that game. If they somehow piss away that game, there's nothing saving that program from any point further on. They're just, I know, for the foreseeable future, they're just like, that's a loss that breaks a program for years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, the bright side is if they do lose it, the only people who are going to watch are clowns, like the people that fucking fired me about a half hour ago. So there you go.
Yeah, that sucks, by the way. Okay, well, we got one more game to go over. This is a night matchup for those of you night owls, all the ones who love chaos after dark. Good news, they got you a good one here. This is our final game to cover in week 0, 10 o'clock p.m. on Fox. Two well-respected G6 programs battling at it late in the night. Memphis and UNLV squaring off in Las Vegas. This is going to be a good one. And I say that because, A, these are two, like I mentioned, well-respected G6 programs with a lot of potential on their mind. And B, they're bringing in a lot of brand new pieces. There's many questions, and both of them have aspirations to win their conference. And while this isn't a conference game, because obviously they're both in two different conferences, this is still a game that, you know, both of these teams are going to be fighting for a spot in the playoffs. You know, so I would say that more about UNLV because unlike Memphis, I think UNLV has got more coming back. And the first part of that would obviously be the fact that they've got their head coach coming back. Speaking of which, let's take a moment to shout out Development. Thank you very much to him. Mr. Development.
Mr. Desert Rat Dan Mullen, as I call him.
Yep, so Development Dan Mullen coming back for another year with the Rebels. He's had a year to establish his team and has done a great job doing so. Now he's coming into year 2 with a lot more than just a marquee bowl game on his back. He wants a whole lot more than that, and he's got the team well-rounded to maybe do just that. He's got a quarterback battle. That's one thing I'll say. It's between Alex Orji, another former Wolverine.
Oh, Jesus. He's still playing?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, both of these guys are seniors, so that's why I say this battle is going to be very, very interesting. But I think their starting quarterback, I don't know if they've made an official announcement on you yet, but I think this is going to be their starting quarterback. Coming in from yet another program. This guy's been on a world tour in the South. Well, now he's going up to the North. Former Auburn man, Jackson Arnold. Yep, Jackson Arnold is returning for another season, this time with Dan Mullen and UNLV. Jackson Arnold, as much as we love to troll this man, Jack in the Box does have a few upsides to him, and I think that'll show with this roster. UNLV has got some key receivers coming back, got some through the portal, including Middle Tennessee's Amarian Walker. He is one of their best playmakers with the Blue Raiders, as well as Taz Reddix from Oregon State. As for their defense, which I think their defense needed a lot of work. The funny thing about UNLV last year was that their defense, when they opened up the season, they were absolutely miserable to watch. I mean, they let up 500 yards rushing to French Fry University, but then they got things under control, and their defense was quite a bit better afterwards down the stretch. But now we go into another season. They need to avoid that this time, because if they walk into this matchup and have the same problem happening to them again, it's going to be a disaster. Because I think Memphis has some key guys on offense that could very well go for 500 yards if they choose to have a stroke like that again. But a lot of the playmakers on the team from last year coming back into this year, so I wouldn't imagine a meltdown like that would happen on defense to open things up. As for Memphis, on the other hand, things are going to be interesting with them now that Ryan Silverfield is, of course, moving on to the Razorbacks. He is going to be it's going to be an interesting situation for the Tigers. Charles Huff coming in from over in what was it, Marshall? I think, or
he was at Marshall, then he went to Southern Miss,
and then
he's at Memphis. Yeah.
Because he was over he didn't spend.
He won the Sun Belt with Marshall, took Southern Miss from 1-11 to respectable, and now he's at Memphis.
Yep. All right, so this is why Memphis is such an absolutely massive wild card this season, and it is because, well, they went the Auburn route. They went the Penn State route. They went the route of the team entirely built out of the transfer portal. You can't find more than maybe 2 or 3 guys starting on this upcoming roster that are not picked out from the transfer portal. Their defense from start to finish is a team entirely built from the transfer portal. There isn't a single starter on this upcoming defense that they didn't get from Chaos Portal. So
true.
Yeah.
And a lot of them actually came with from Southern Miss, believe it or not, with the head coach moving over. But it's not like they had a choice here. When, Memphis' head coach last year fucked off, a lot of the players fucked off with him.
Yeah.
It's just kind of what happens. They trust the coach, not the school.
That's right. Well, as for who they're starting as for their main guys, well, firstly, they've got a quarterback battle going on between Marcus Stokes from West Florida and Aaron Noland from over in South Carolina. He was their backup under Lenore Sellers. He was originally at Ohio State, as that's where he was recruited from, hit the portal, went to Carolina. Now he's at Memphis as the right now the backup, but that could be destined to change. And so they're starting running back. Dallin Hayden had also originally out of Ohio State, then went to Colorado. Now he's also with Memphis. So they basically built their entire team out of one-year rentals. Here's what I'll say for Charles Huff in particular. This is not a system for success, or at least consistent success. He might have a good year this season because he built this team with a bunch of one-year rentals out of the portal, but he's going to have to do that again the very next year because most of these guys, guarantee it, are going to go to a different school the very next year. They're on the world tour, just like TJ Finley. You got a bunch of TJ Finleys. What more can I say about that? So it's going to be intriguing to see what Memphis turns out to be this season. But as for this game, UNLV is a 5.5-point favorite. They've got a more well-rounded team. They have a team that you can be more confident in because it's you know what this team is going to look like more often than not. But I don't know. Red, what do you think? Do you think UNLV guards their home or Memphis goes in there and gets the upset?
It's going to be tough for Memphis, absolutely. Unlike Memphis, which is coming in as a team kind of built up as the all-stars of the best they could possibly get out of the group of 6, UNLV is a lot more established. They've competed for the conference title the last couple of years, always being the bridesmaid to Boise State. Whereas this season, they're basically the team expected to win the Mountain West going into the season. I pegged them as potentially winning it all, but I also picked North Dakota State to win it all, so that's beside the point. UNLV's a really, well, can you fucking blame me? I'm buying into the hype train, okay? Look, UNLV is just a much more well-grounded team than Memphis is right now. I am going to go with the Rebs to knock them out. It's also a home field advantage. Well, you can't really have home field advantage in Vegas. But, again, Memphis has to fly across the country. It's going to be a tough environment in general. So, give me the Rebs. I don't think it'll be a blowout, though, obviously. It's going to be kind of one of those games where they kind of punch each other in the mouth for about 3 quarters, and then UNLV just kind of takes it away towards the end. All
right. Well, we've been waiting on this all show, but this is where I'm going to have to disagree with you completely. I'm actually going to take Memphis to win this game. And you said it's going to be a close game, and I do believe that. I think this will be a fun battle to watch.
I'm going to be streaming it Saturday night myself, so I can't wait for it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun one. I'm actually going to take Memphis to win it, though. I mentioned how it's a team built entirely out of transfers. There's no denying that. We see, we all know it. However, Charles Huff has proven many times before that he is a guy who knows how to win these types of games. Go and win these brawls, win these tight battles. Hell, he did it with Marshall. Then he brought Southern Miss out of the grave. I believe he can do the same thing with Memphis with a whole team of transfers. And this is going to be a hard fight for him because UNLV, again, well-rounded team. They've got a lot going on in their favor. And they're also going to be a team that's trying to fight for contention in the playoffs. So it's going to be a tough battle for me for anybody in this matchup. But there's just something about Memphis. I think right now, just for this season, I think Huff has a recipe for success just for this season. Not in the future, but just for this season, I think he's got a pretty good team on the horizon. I'm going to take Memphis to win, although I don't think they're going to run away with it. I think it's going to be a very hard fought battle.
This is going to be a solid fight. You got two. You caught yourself about before you said power teams. These two are two heavyweights in the group of 6, without a doubt. I mean, Memphis has been knocking on the playoff door for a couple years. UNLV has been knocking off the playoff door last season. It's definitely going to be a heavyweight fight that could help determine what the group of 6 playoffs race could look like very early on. But again, the American's going to American. The Mountain West is kind of a shit show. You got a lot of teams that could possibly come up and take out UNLV down the road. Not to mention Boise's hanging around the Pac-12. They could take the playoff spot. And you still never know what the fuck happens with them Dukes at James Madison. So it's a wide open race, but we're gonna get some answers pretty early on with this matchup, I think.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get some entertainment out of it for sure. But that's the week 0 slate for you guys. All 8 games. It's gonna be, well, I guess, as they call it, the preamble to what's going to be college football. Because after this point, it's gonna be the same thing here on the FBS Report every single week. We're gonna go over these games, talk about the best things that happened, who the funnest teams were to watch, and then we get to go into week 1. And funny enough, Red, the team to open up week 1 is actually UMass.
Yeah, get the shit out of the way first, huh?
Yeah, they travel to Rutgers that Thursday. That's the first official game of week 1.
I hope they're getting paid to get their asses whipped.
Well, yeah, they get paid regardless. Because they're like an FCS team at this point.
They basically should. They need to be relegated back to FCS. I genuinely don't know, other than like, what is the point of them staying up in this level at this point? Like, just go back to FCS. You'd be so much better off that way. Let Tarleton State have a shot at it.
If nothing, I would have, that's one thing I would have loved to see. I would have loved to see UMass play a game in week 0, because that's the most attention that they're going to get all season. That's the sad part. That, this is like week 0. This is the problem for teams that are playing in week 0, which is if you mess up, if you screw up and shit yourself, it's for everybody to witness. There isn't some other team that's going to come down the stretch and embarrass themselves worse than you are.
You can't hide this shit on ESPN Plus, buddy.
No, so if you mess up, if you shit the bed, we all get to witness it. We're all gonna be watching. So I think that's the scariest part of your team, like North Carolina, NC State, Stanford, because if you mess up, if you fall off a cliff, we all get to witness it. We're all gonna be laughing at you for it. So
Yeah. But I mean, so goes the world, so goes UMass. We find a way. Who's going to be the UMass this season, you think? Because here's the thing, I don't think UMass is going to out UMass themselves. They're going to improve a little bit this year. But I really am going to be curious to see who's going to take home the turd chalice of the Sickles Bowl trophy this season.